chapter 88, liberation and material opulence. King Parikshit, being already liberated as a great devotee of Krishna, was asking various questions from Sukadeva Goswami to clarify the whole matter. In the previous chapter, King Parikshit's question was, what is the ultimate goal of the Vedas? And Sukadeva Goswami explained to him what the ultimate goal of Vedas, taking authoritative description beginning from Sananda down to Narayan Rishi and Narada, disciplic succession to Vyasdeva and then to Sukadeva Goswami himself. The conclusion arrived as devotional service or bhakti is the ultimate goal of the Vedas. Now, a neophyte devotee may question if the ultimate goal of life or the conclusion of the Vedas is to elevate oneself on the platform of devotional service, then why it is so absurd that a devotee of Lord Vishnu is generally not very much materially prosperous, whereas a devotee of Lord Siva is found to be very much materially opulent. In order to clarify this matter, Parikshit Maharaj inquired from Sukadeva Goswami as follows. In quotation, my dear Sukadeva Goswami, it is generally found that all living entities, including the human society, on the inquiry of King Parikshit about the contradictory action in the matter of worshipping Lord Siva and Lord Vishnu, Sukadeva Goswami replied that Lord Siva is the master of this material energy. Material energy is represented by goddess Durga, and Lord Siva happens to be her husband. Goddess Durga being completely under subjugation of Lord Siva, it is to be understood that Lord Siva is the master of this material energy. The material energy is manifested in three qualities, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. Under the circumstances, Lord Siva is also a master of these three qualities. Although he is in association with these three qualities for the benefit of the conditioned soul, he is the director, but he is not affected. The conditioned soul is affected by the three qualities. But Lord Siva himself is not affected, but he is disposer of these three qualities. In this statement of Sukadeva Goswami, we can understand that the effects of worshipping different demigods are not always one and the same as some less intelligent class of men. Suppose here it is clearly stated that by worshipping Lord Siva, one achieves a different reward, whereas by worshipping Lord Vishnu, one achieves a different effect. In the Bhagavad Gita also this is confirmed, that those who are worshipping different demigods, they will achieve the desired result, which is possible to be avoided by such demigods. And similarly, those who are worshipping material energy, they will receive reward of such activities. Similarly, those who are worshipping the Pitris, they will also receive similar results. But one who is engaged in devotional service or worship of the Supreme Lord, Vishnu or Krishna, they go to the Vaikuntha or Krishna Loka. It is not that by worshipping Lord Siva or Brahma or any other demigod, one can approach the transcendental region or Parabrahma or the spiritual sky. This material world, being products of the three qualities of material nature, there are varieties of manifestation. Just as in modern civilization, by the aid of materialistic science, people have created so many machines and comforts of life, but they are only varieties of the interaction of three material qualities. When a devotee of Lord Siva is able to acquire all this material acquisition, we should know that they are simply collecting things manufactured by the three qualities. The three qualities are again subdivided into 16, namely the 10 senses, namely 5 working senses and 5 knowledge acquiring senses, and the mind, altogether 11, and the 5 elements, namely earth, water, air, fire, sky. These 16 items are further extension of the three qualities. Material happiness or opulence means sense gratification, specifically the genitals, the tongue and the mind. By exercising our mind, we are creating so many pleasurable things for enjoyment by the genitals and the tongue. When I think of an opulent person who is in this material world, we estimate the value in terms of his exercise of the genital and the tongue. Or in other words, how one is able to utilize his sexual capacities and how one is able to eat nice, palatable dishes according to one's fastidiousness. Material advancement of civilization means that they are creating by mental concoction so many things just to become happy based on these two principles, namely pleasurable things for the genital and pleasurable things for the tongue. Therefore the question of King Parikshit to Sukadeva Goswami, why the devotees or worshippers Lord Siva are so opulent. They are so-called opulent by the material quality. Actually, such advanced civilization is the cause of entanglement in material existence. Actually, they are not advancement, they are degradation. Therefore, the conclusion is that because Lord Siva is the master of the three qualities, so things manufactured by the interaction of these three qualities for satisfaction of senses are given to the devotee. The Bhagavad Gita, however, we get instruction from Lord Krishna that one has to transcend the qualitative existence. Nistraygunna bhavarjuna. Nistraygunna, transcendental to the three qualities. That is the mission of human life. Without being Nistraygunna, nobody can get free from material entanglement. In other words, favors received from Lord Siva are not actually beneficial to the conditioned soul, although apparently such environment seems to be materially opulent. That's why Sukadeva Goswami continued to say, within quotation, the Supreme Personality Godhead, Hari, is, however, transcendental, the three qualities of material nature. Or in other words, as it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, that anyone who surrenders unto him surpasses the control of the three qualities of material nature. When Hari, a devotee, is transcendental to the control of the three material qualities, what to speak of him? It is stated therefore in the Srimad Bhagavatam that Hari or Krishna is the original Supreme Personality. There are two kinds of prakriti or nature or potency, namely the internal potency and the external potency, and Krishna is overlord of all these prakriti or potencies. He is a Sarvadrik, or the overseer of all the actions of internal potency and external potency. Not only that, he is described as Upadrashta, or the supreme advisor. Being the supreme advisor, he is above all demigods who follows the direction of the supreme advisor. As such, if one directly follows the instruction of the Supreme Lord, as it is inculcated in the Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, then naturally the follower of such instruction gradually becomes nirguna, or above the interaction of the material quality. To become nirguna means to be bereft of material opulences, because as we have explained above, material opulence means increase of actions and reactions of the three material qualities. So by worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one, instead of becoming puffed up with material opulences, he becomes enriched with spiritual advancement of knowledge in Krishna consciousness. To become nirguna means to achieve eternal peace, fearlessness. This in religious activity full of knowledge, renunciation. All these are symptoms of becoming nirguna, or free from the contamination of material quality. Next verse, Sukadeva Goswami, this connection cited the instance of history about Parikshit Maharaj's grandfather, King Yudhishthira. He said that King Yudhishthira, after finishing the consummate sacrifice in the great sacrificial arena and in the presence of great authorities, inquired that very question, namely, while the devotees of Lord Siva becomes materially opulent, whereas the devotees of Lord Vishnu are not like that. Sukadeva Goswami specifically said that your grandfather, so that he would be encouraged that Krishna had some family relation with their family, and his grandfathers were very much intimately connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When this question was asked by Maharaj Yudhishthira, Krishna, although he is very satisfied always by nature, he became still more satisfied on the inquiry of King Yudhishthira, because his question and the answer of the Supreme Personality of Godhead would bear a great meaning for the whole Krishna-conscious society. Whenever Lord Krishna speaks something to his specified devotee, it is not only meant for the devotee, but it is meant for the whole human society. Such instruction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is equally important to the demigods, headed by Lord Brahma, Lord Siva, and others. The Supreme Personality of Godhead descends within this world for such a beneficial work for all living entities. Anyone who does not take advantage of the instruction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is certainly very much unfortunate. So Lord Krishna answered the question of Maharaj Yudhishthira as follows. Anyone who is favored by me, and I take special care for such devotee, the first business in dealing with him is that I take away the riches of such devotee. In this way, when the devotee becomes penniless pauper, or put into comparatively poverty-stricken position, at that time his relatives and family members do not take any more interest in him, and in most cases they give up their connection. The devotee becomes doubly unhappy. First of all, he becomes unhappy on account of his riches being taken away by Krishna, and another unhappiness is that on account of his poverty-stricken position, his relatives also desert from his connection. We should have a note in this connection that the devotee fallen into miserable condition in such a way is not due to his past impious activity or as karma form. This poverty is taken position of the devotee is a creation of the personality of Godhead. Similarly, a devotee, when he becomes materially opulent, that is also not due to his pious activity. In both the cases, either the devotee becomes poorer or the devotee becomes richer. The arrangement is made by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This arrangement is specially made by Krishna for his devotee just to make him completely dependent upon him, or being freed from all material obligations. He can concentrate his energies, mind, body, everything for the service of the Lord, and that is a pure devotional service. In the Narad Pancharatra, it is explained therefore, Sarvopadhi Vinirmuktam. Sarvopadhi Vinirmuktam means being freed from all designation. So long one works for the family, for the society, for the community, for the nation, or for the humanity, they are all work in designation. I belong to this society, I belong to this community, I belong to this nation, or I belong to this species of life. They are all different designations only. So by the grace of the Lord, when a devotee becomes free from all these designations, his devotional service is actually Naiskarma. Jnanis are very much attracted by this position of Naiskarma, which means that your action will have no more any effect. So the devotee's action being free from effect, it is not under the category of karma phala or fruitive activities, as it is explained before in the words of personified Vedas, that unhappiness and distress of a devotee is produced by the personality of Godhead for the devotee, and the devotee therefore does not care whether he is in happiness or he is in distress. He goes on with his duties of executing devotional service. The idea is that although he seems to be under the action and reaction of fruitive activities, he is freed from such resultant action of designation. It may be questioned in this connection that why the devotee is put into such tribulation by the personality of Godhead. The answer is, this kind of arrangement by the personality of Godhead is just like the father becomes sometimes unkind to his son. The devotee, being a surrendered soul and taken charge by the Supreme Lord, whenever he puts him in any condition of life, distress or happiness, it is to be understood that there is a big plan behind this arrangement made by the personality of Godhead. For example, by such arrangement, Lord Krishna put the Pandavas in distress condition, and the distress was so much acute that even grandfather Bhishma could not estimate how such thing could happen. He lamented the condition of the Pandavas, that the whole family was headed by King Yudhishthira, the most pious king, and protected by two great warriors like Bhima or Arjuna, and from all, they were all intimate friends and relatives of Lord Krishna, and still they had to undergo such tribulation. But later on it was proved that such plan was made by the Supreme Personality of Krishna to execute his great mission, namely annihilating these miscreants and protecting the devotees. In this connection, a question may be raised that if the devotee is also subjected to different kinds of conditions, happiness or distress by the arrangement of the personality of Godhead, and if a common man is put into such condition as resultant action of his past deeds, then what is the difference? In which way the devotee is better than the ordinary karmi? The answer is that they are not one and the same. But the karmi is, in whatever condition of life he may be, it continues birth after birth, because the seed of karma or fruitive activity is there, and it fructifies whenever there is opportunity. That means, in the law of karma, a common man is perpetually entangled in the repeated birth and death, whereas the devotee's distress and happiness, not being under the laws of karma, is temporary arrangement by the Supreme Lord, without any entanglement by the devotee. Such arrangement is made by the Lord to serve a temporary purpose only. For a karmi, when he acts something auspicious, he is elevated to the heavenly planets, and if he acts impiously, he is put into the hellish condition of life. But a devotee, either he acts in so-called pious or impious position, he is neither elevated or degraded, but he is transferred to the spiritual kingdom. Therefore, a devotee's happiness and distress and a karmi's happiness and distress are not on the same level. This fact is corroborated by the speech of Jamaraj to his servant in connection with liberation of Ajamil. He advised to his followers that persons who had never uttered the holy name of the Lord, neither he has ever remembered the form, quality, pastimes of the Lord, such persons should be approached by the words of Jamaraj. Jamaraj also advised that for the devotees, they should never approach. On the contrary, if they meet sometime a devotee, they should offer their respectful obeisances. So, there is no question of devotees being promoted or degraded within this material world, as there is gulf of difference between the punishment awarded by the mother and the punishment by an enemy. Similarly, a devotee's distress condition is not the same as the distress condition of a common karmi. Here, another question may be raised that God is all-powerful, why he should try to reform his devotee, putting him into distress condition of life? The answer is that when the Supreme Personality of Godhead puts his devotee in such distress condition of life, it is not without purpose. Sometimes the purpose is that in such distress condition, a devotee's feeling and attachment for Krishna becomes magnified. The evidence is Kunti. When Krishna was leaving the capital of the Pandavas for his home, and when he was taking permission from Kunti Devi for going back to home, Kunti Devi said, "Dear Krishna, in our distress condition, you are always present with us. Now, because we have been elevated to the position of royal order, you are leaving us. I would therefore prefer such distress condition of life instead of losing you." So, in the distress condition of a devotee, his devotional activities become accelerated. Therefore, the Lord, to show a special favor to the devotee, he puts him sometimes in the distress condition. Besides that, as it is stated that the sweetness of happiness is sweet to those who have tasted the bitterness of it. The Supreme Lord descends on this material world just to protect his devotees from distress condition. In other words, if the devotee is not into distress condition, the Lord would not have come down. So far, he is killing the demons or the miscreants. He can do it easily by various energies. Just like many asuras are killed by his external energy, goddess Durga. So he does not require to come down to kill such demons, but he has to come down when his devotee is in distress condition. Just like Lord Vishnudev appeared not for killing Hiranyakasipu, but to see Prahlad and to give him blessing. In other words, because Prahlad Maharaj was put into so much distress condition, the Lord appeared. Besides that, there is another analogy. Just like after dense dark night, when there is sun rising in the morning, it is very pleasant. When there is scorching heat, cold water is very pleasant. Or when there is suffocating winter, hot water is very pleasant. Similarly, when a devotee, after distress condition of this material world, realizes the spiritual happiness awarded by the Lord, position becomes still more pleasant and enjoyable. Next verse, the Lord continued to say, in quotation, my devotee, when he is bereft of all material riches and deserted by his relatives, friends and family members, at that time, because he has nobody to look after him, he completely takes shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Srila Narottam Thakur has sung in this connection, my dear Lord Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, you are now standing before me along with Srimati Radharani, the daughter of King Brishbhanu. So, I am sending unto you, please accept me. Please do not kick me away, because I have no other shelter than yourself. Next paragraph. When a devotee is thus put into so-called miserable condition, being bereft of riches and family, first of all, he tries again to revive his original position of material opulence, but again and again he tries, and again Krishna takes all his resources. Thus, at the end, he becomes disappointed in his material activities. Practically, in the stage of frustration from all endeavors, one can fully surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such devotees are advised by the Lord from within that he may associate with devotees, and by associating with the devotees, naturally he becomes inclined to render service to the Personality of Godhead, and immediately he gets all facilities from the side of the Lord for advancing in his mode of Krishna consciousness. The non-devotees are very careful about their material condition of life. Generally, such non-devotees do not therefore come to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they prefer to worship Lord Siva or any other demigod for immediate material profit. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said therefore, Kankantang karmanang siddhim jajante yadevata. This means that the karmis, in order to achieve success within this material world, go to worship different kinds of demigods. In another place, it is also stated by Lord Krishna that those who go to worship other demigods, their intelligence is not pure. The devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not therefore foolish to go to any other demigod, and on account of their strong attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, without being deterred by any kind of adverse condition of life, remains firm and steady, and thus I give myself to him. Thus he is favored by myself to achieve the highest success of life. LA, tape number 39. Los Angeles, tape number 40. Krishna, chapter 88 continues. The mercy bestowed upon tried devotee by the Supreme Personality of Godhead is described as Brahma, which means that the greatness of the mercy at that time is compared only with the all-pervasive greatness. Brahma means unlimitedly great and unlimitedly expanding. At the same time, it is stated that mercy is paramam. There is no comparison of that mercy within this material world. At the same time, suksham, very fine. That means the mercy upon the tried devotee is not only great and limitedly expansive, but it is of the finest quality, which means transcendental love between the devotee and the Lord. Such mercy is described as chin matram, completely spiritual. The word matram is used, which means absolutely spiritual, in which there is no tinge of material quality. Such mercy is short, eternal, and anantakam, is unlimited. When the devotee of the Lord is awarded such unlimited spiritual benefit, why he should go to worship other demigods? Therefore, a devotee does not go to worship Lord Siva or Brahma or any other subordinate demigods. They completely devote themselves to the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sukadeva Goswami continued to say within quotation, except the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, other demigods headed by Lord Brahma, Lord Siva, including Lord Indra, Chandra, Varuna, and various others, they are apt to become very soon satisfied or very soon angry by the good behavior and ill behavior of the devotee. This means within this material world, any living entity, including the demigods, are conducted by the three modes of material nature, and in that way the quality of ignorance and passion are very much prominent within this material world. Therefore, the devotees who take blessings from the demigods are also infected with the material qualities, especially passion and ignorance. Lord Sri Krishna has therefore stated in the Bhagavad Gita that to take the blessings from the demigods is meant for the less intelligent class of man, and even though they take some benediction from such demigods, the result of such benediction is temporary. Although it is easier to get material opulence by worshipping the demigod, but the result is sometimes disastrous. As such, the benediction derived from demigod is appreciated by less intelligent class of men. Persons who derive benediction from the demigods gradually become puffed up with the material opulence and neglectful even to the benedictor. Sukadeva Goswami addressed the King Parikshit within quotation, my dear King, Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, Lord Siva, the principal trio of this material creation, are able to benedict or to curse anyone. Out of this trio, Lord Brahma and Lord Siva very easily become satisfied, at the same time very easily become angry. When they are satisfied, they give benediction without any consideration, and when they are angry, they curse devotee without any consideration. But Lord Vishnu is not like that. Lord Vishnu is very considerate. Whenever a devotee wants something from Lord Vishnu, he first of all considers whether such kind of benediction will be ultimately good for the devotee. But Vishnu never bestows any benediction which will ultimately prove disastrous to the devotee. He is, by his transcendental nature, always merciful. Therefore, before giving any benediction, he considers whether such benediction will be ultimately good for the devotee. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, being always merciful, even sometimes it appears that he has killed some demon. Such killing or apparently becoming angry upon the devotee is also auspicious for the devotee. Supreme Personality of Godhead is therefore known as all good. Whatever he does is good. So far, the benediction given by demigods like Lord Siva, there is a historical reference generally cited by great sages, which it is understood that sometimes Lord Siva, after giving benediction to a demon of the name Brikasur, he himself was entrapped in great dangerous position. This Brikasur was the son of Shakuni. He was searching after some benediction and was thinking of selecting out of the trio whom he would worship and get the benediction. In the meantime, he happened to meet the great sage Narada and consulted him to whom he should approach to achieve quick result of his austerity. He inquired out of the three deities, namely Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu and Lord Siva, who is very quickly satisfied. Narada, however, could understand the plan of the demon, and he advised him that you better worship Lord Siva, and then quickly you will get the desired result. The reason is Lord Siva is very quickly satisfied, and at the same time he becomes very quickly dissatisfied also. So you try to satisfy Lord Siva. Narada also gave instances that demons like Ravana and Manasur were enriched by great opulences simply by satisfying Lord Siva, offering some prayers. The great sage Narada was aware of the nature of the demon Brikasur. Therefore, he did not advise him to approach Vishnu or Lord Brahma, as it will appear from the next verse that Brikasur was existing in the modes of material nature of ignorance. Such person cannot stick to the worship of Vishnu. So after receiving instruction from Narada, the demon Brikasur went to Kedarnath. This Kedarnath pilgrimage is still existing near Kashmir. It is almost always covered by snow, but in some part of the year, during the month of July, there is some facility to see the deity, and devotees go there to offer their respects. This place, a pilgrimage known as Kedarnath, is the place for the devotees of the Lord Siva. According to Vedic principle, when something is offered to the deities for eating, it is offered to the fire. Therefore, fire sacrifice is necessary in all sorts of ceremonies. It is specially stated in the Shastras that gods are to be offered something for eating through the fire. So, this demon Brikasur went to Kedarnath and ignited fire for making sacrifice to please Lord Siva. After igniting fire there, in the name of Siva, he began to offer his own flesh, cutting from the body, just to please Lord Siva. Here is an instance of worshipping in the modes of ignorance. In the Bhagavad Gita, there are different types of sacrifices. Some of the sacrifices are in the modes of goodness, some of the sacrifices are in the modes of passion, and some of them are in the modes of ignorance. There are different kinds of tapasas and worships because there are different kinds of people within this world. But the ultimate tapasa or Krishna consciousness is the topmost yoga, topmost sacrifice, as there confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Topmost yoga is to think of Lord Krishna always within the heart, and the topmost sacrifice is performing the Sankirtan Yagya. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that the worshippers of the demigod are less intelligent or lost of their intelligence. This instance of Brikasur, as it will be revealed in the following chapters, that his ultimate goal to satisfy Lord Siva was most third-class materialistic objective. Such objective, temporary and without any real benefit, still the Asuras or the persons in the modes of ignorance will accept such kind of benediction from the demigods. And in complete contrast with this sacrifice in the modes of ignorance, there is Archan Vidhi of Lord Vishnu, or the worshipping process for Lord Vishnu or Krishna is very simple. Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that he accepts from his devotee even a little fruit, little flower, little water, which can be gathered by any person who are rich. Of course, those who are rich, they are not expected to offer a little water or little piece of fruit or little piece of a leaf to the Lord. A rich man should offer according to his position. But the Lord wants the lowest possible things. His devotee happens to be a very poor man. Anyway, the worship of Lord Vishnu or Krishna is very simple and can be executed by any man within this world. But in the worship in the modes of ignorance, as it is executed by the Brikasur, is not only very difficult and painful, but also they are useless waste of time. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita says that the worshippers of the demigods are lost of intelligence, because the process of worship is very, very difficult. At the same time, the result of that is flickering and temporary. The Brikasur continued his sacrifice for 6 days. Still, he was unable to see personally Lord Siva, which was his objective, because he wanted to see him face to face and ask him for the benediction. Here is another contrast between a demon and a devotee. A devotee is confident that whatever he is offering to the deity in full devotional service is being accepted by the Lord. But a demon wants to see face to face his worshipable deity so that he can directly take the benediction. Devotee, however, does not worship Vishnu or Lord Krishna for any benediction. Therefore, devotee is called akama, and a non-devotee is called sarvakama, or wanting everything. On the 7th day, the demon Brikasur decided that he should offer his head, cutting off from the body to satisfy Lord Siva. Thus he took bath in the nearby lake and without drying the body and the hair, he kept himself wet and wanted to cut off his head, for which he prepared himself. According to Vedic system, an animal which is to be offered as sacrifice has to be bathed first, and while the animal is wet, he is sacrificed. When the demon was thus prepared to cut off his head, Lord Siva became very much compassionate. This compassion is a symptom of the quality of goodness. Lord Siva is called Trilanga. Therefore, his manifestation of the nature of compassion is the sign of the quality of goodness. This compassion is, however, present in every living entity. Compassion of Lord Siva was aroused not because the demon was offering his bodily flesh to the sacrificial fire, but it is quite natural. We